good job on sending those other ones to me, and they are all uploaded now.
Yeah, well, it took me a while, but when I finally remembered, there we were. All right, so hello and welcome to our virtual movie discussion. Today, our topic is the 2017 film Dunkirk. I am Dr. Karen Wisely, and I teach history at the Northeast campus. And today I'm joined by. Which one of you wants to go first?
Sorry. Sorry. I had my mic muted because I was opening my Topo Chico. Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Sara Reed. I teach history at the Northeast campus as well.
And hi, I'm Chloe Northrop, and I teach history at Connect campus, and I am also department chair there, like Karen is department chair at Northeast. So, yay.
Yeah. Which is a great job, isn't it? Anyway, our custom when doing one of these things is to start with a little introduction. That's where I read the log line or brief description of the movie, and then go over some of the main cast members and where you may have seen them before. So the log line for Dunkirk: 400,000 British and French soldiers are holed up in the French port town of Dunkirk. The only way out is via sea, and the Germans have air superiority, bombing the British soldiers and ships without much opposition. The situation looks dire, and in desperation, Britain sends civilian boats in addition to its hard-pressed navy to try to evacuate the beleaguered forces. It stars, I had problems with this because there were a lot of people in it that kind of looked familiar, but
I didn't realize Cillian Murphy was in it.
Yeah, he plays Shivering Soldier. That's the name of his character, Shivering Soldier. But first, Mark Rylance as Mr. Dawson, and he looked very familiar to me, and I know I've seen him in a lot of stuff. And when I read through his IMDb credits, it was like, oh, not that much. But he was Sir Thomas Boleyn in 2008's The Other Boleyn Girl. He was in 2015's Bridge of Spies. And he was the BFG in 2016's BFG.
Oh, okay.
And the F is not what you think it is. It's friendly, right? It's the big friendly giant. That's what it is, right? It's okay. All right. And he was William Kunstler in 2020's The Trial of the Chicago Seven. He's a solid actor, I think. Tom Glenn Carney as Peter. And I didn't really know him. And then I looked up, and he is probably best known for the role that he is still playing, which is King Aegon II Targaryen in the House of the Dragon.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah. How about Barry Keoghan as George? Do we know him? Yeah, because he's been everywhere the last few years.
Yeah.
He stars with Colin Farrell in 2022's Banshees of Inisherin and was nominated for an Academy Award for that. He also was in with Colin Farrell in 2017's The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Both of these are really weird movies. So weird and so critically acclaimed. Also recently he starred in Saltburn, I think it was last year, that was also acclaimed, but maybe for different reasons.
I wouldn't watch it. I thought it would make me too uncomfortable.
I read the reviews and felt the same way, Chloe.
Okay, I didn't see it. I was too chicken. I read all the spoilers and I was like, I don't know.
Cillian Murphy as the Shivering Soldier. If you don't know who he is, then you've probably been in a coma for a year. He starred in Oppenheimer. He won an Academy Award. He's been on every talk show, everything. And just look, he's been a great actor in basically everything he's done. And apparently Christopher Nolan really likes him because I think he's been in like almost every one of his movies. So he is everywhere. Tom Hardy as Farrier, the pilot. And again, I feel like if you don't know who Tom Hardy is, I don't even know if you watch movies. But he was Venom in Spider-Man No Way Home, Bane in The Dark Knight Rises. He was Mad Max Fury in Mad Max Fury Road. He was Inception. So obviously he's in a lot of things that Christopher Nolan does. Kenneth Branagh as Commander Bolton. He too was in Oppenheimer last summer. He played Hercule Poirot in a couple times in Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile. He was Gilderoy Lockhart in some Harry Potter films. He did a lot of Shakespeare stuff, Hamlet, and when he was younger, obviously. He's been brilliant throughout his entire career. You probably have seen him. And finally, Harry Styles as Alex. This was his acting debut, and I think he did an all right job. He's better known probably for being a member of One Direction, but he does a fair bit of acting these days. In 2022, he was pretty famously in Don't Worry Darling with Florence Pugh and directed by Olivia Wilde, with whom he was in a relationship. And later, he was in a movie called My Policeman, where it was a little strange. Dunkirk was released on July 21st, 2017 in the United States. It was nominated for 8 Academy Awards in 2018, and it won 3: Best Achievement in Film Editing, Best Achievement in Sound Editing, thank you, Little, and Best Achievement in Sound Mixing. It was directed by Christopher Nolan, who was nominated for a directing Oscar but did not win, which you can tell because the timeline was wonky. The running time for Dunkirk is 1 hour and 46 minutes, very short but very intense. So that is the movie. And like I said, I thought it was pretty intense because every time I watch it, I feel, and I think part of it is the music. I feel like I'm not breathing because the music is very, and it isn't like, a whole lot of melodic thing. It's just like a pounding, like,
yeah. Who did the music?
Hans
Do you
Zimmer.
remember? Oh, of
It's,
course.
you know,
amazing.
Dark Knight, so many of these other
Yes.
movies with like those iconic soundtracks. So when I saw that name pop up at the end, it struck me as well with the music, because I don't think I appreciate the kind of like rough undertones until I was in the TCC orchestra a few years ago and we played, and I played cello, and all that is the low that low stuff, and it was intense. Like I was like, I cannot even play this at all. So that was it was interesting because it was something that made me think about it in a different way than before, when I had never played it before, or you just hear these things. But it is intense, especially on like those kind of like low things, and also just that intensity that keeps that like rumbling going all the time and everything. So I think that adds to the like anxiety for the movie for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And Brenna said, I'm surprised about the Editing Academy Award, honestly. All the jumping around between the various stories made it a little difficult for me to keep up with what was going on. And I could not agree more on that.
Yeah.
And to me, that is Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
And I always struggle with his movies, and I can never just watch his movies once. And I don't know if he's doing this on purpose, or like, haha, we'll get you to watch him multiple times or whatever. But I always have to go back and watch it several other times, at least one other time, maybe more. And even like it's been, when did this come out? 2017. It's been 7 years, probably, so 6 years since I saw it last. And so I probably needed to watch it twice, because I had forgotten how jumbled the timeline was, and I struggled with it this time when I watched it. So I agree with you, Brenna. I agree wholeheartedly with you. But having said that, from everything that I've read, this is seen as one of the most realistic movies about what happened in Dunkirk. Yeah. The intensity of it. I read on IMDb that they had a group of World War I soldiers or World War II soldiers come and view it on the opening night, and their comment was that it was spot on as far as the intensity, as far as the fear and all of that. But the one thing that was wrong was the movie was louder than it was actually in Dunkirk, which I thought was hilarious. I was like, yeah, it's pretty loud, I imagine. So
when I was watching this movie last night, Mark pointed out something to me that I had forgotten, because it's been so long since I've seen this movie. I think one of the reasons why this movie is so intense is because, just like the soldiers, we never see the Germans. We hear them shooting, at the soldiers, just like the soldiers would. So in that sense, I think brilliant move by Christopher Nolan, because it almost puts you in the place of a soldier and you're kind of experiencing it as they would have experienced it. So this faceless enemy that's, you know, threatening to you, that you never see, you never know where they're at, but you know that they're there. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's I had never considered that either.
Yeah, I think that was one of like that's a really, I would say, like almost iconic part of the movie now, is that you don't see that it is. It's like very limited in its portrayal, and it's focusing on the experience just of the Allied troops. And there's like this menace that's out there and you know it's coming, but having that be like a faceless menace makes it really intense in a lot of ways. It's almost like those horror movies where you never actually see whatever something's coming then as well. And so we don't know what their strategy is. We don't know what they're going to, but we know that they're coming. So, and like how, where, when, nobody knows. But I guess that is a more of the perspective of how the soldiers would have felt. Like you have that intensity, but they don't know where it's coming from. And I think a lot of times in movies, we as an audience have the benefit of seeing all these different sides at once. And then in some ways, then we are, kind of omniscient as we're watching. And then this way it kind of limits us in our scope to what maybe they would have experienced slightly more.
Yeah. I like
Karen,
omniscient.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I remember, shows how much research I did on this movie. But I think I remember Christopher Nolan mentioning that he made this movie in part for his grandfather who fought in the war.
Yeah.
Am I totally making that up?
I don't think that you are. I think that yeah, I don't remember whether it was father or grandfather, but I think that he had a personal connection to a veteran that inspired him. But I thought it was very good, and I can remember, the thing that I remember when I saw it in the theater is that I had a lot of people who asked me if they should see it, and my answer then, and it would be the same as my answer now, is that if you go into this film and you don't already know the basic story of Dunkirk, I don't know if you enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I get that, because I do know the story of Dunkirk, and it's hard to follow and kind of keep track of all the things that are happening. So yeah, if you have no concept, you're just gonna be like, what the heck just happened? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Did they get saved? I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that.
And also, I think one of the things that maybe audiences might struggle with is that you don't know these characters at all. You don't know. I mean, you know George. I guess they say the name George. Who, like the people in the little sailboat, they interact with one another, so you get to know at least their names. But the soldiers, I don't know if they ever even are named, and so it's hard to like root for them maybe in that same way, because you don't know, maybe they didn't have those moments where they're sitting together and they're like, where are you from, man? And it's like, where are you from?
Yeah.
And like you get to like, oh, and then like they pull out the picture, like, I want to go home to my mom, or like, but and so you don't, like, I feel like that emotional tie that you might have to these characters is not present in many ways, until that dad even says like, oh, we're gonna be okay, my son's up there. That's like the first time that like they mention like these people have families, they have people there. Like we get they're fighting for their country. But like I think that it's like maybe they needed somebody coming in and saying like, we want to, like, as a historian, I'm interested in people's life stories, right? I want to know, why are they fighting? What are they here for? And I feel like I couldn't name one character besides, I guess, George, who dies, right? And that's it.
That's a great point.
Well, like I said, Cillian Murphy's character is Shivering Man.
Yeah.
He never does get a name. Alex, Harry Styles' character we don't get a last name, it's just Alex, and that's just because one of his buddies calls him that. There's a guy named Gibson that they call Gibson, but then when they're in that boat, it turns out his name really isn't Gibson. He took that off of he's a French soldier who took that off of a Brit so that he could, get in with the Brits and be saved. So you're right. We don't know anything about it, which adds to the intensity of it, I think. I mean, we're not like maybe emotionally involved, but it's like, you know, I would really like to know something about these guys, but are they even going to make it? I mean, what's going to happen here? And,
Yeah.
and we learned that, Mr. Dawson, which is what George calls him, which is how you know that's who he is, right? Mr. Dawson says that about his sons, one of you lot up there. His son was dead. That was that was what they said. No, he was killed in like the first couple of weeks of the war, and so he wasn't even up there.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, there is not a whole lot of background on any of
No.
this. Not
And it
I
would
mean,
not have passed the Bechdel test.
are there any women in it?
Not at all.
There were a few nurses on the boat,
Okay.
and that's what I realized.
All right,
This
yeah,
movie
yeah, that's
would
right.
not pass the Bechdel test. That's what I thought as I was
Not at all.
watching it.
And I hate
No.
to compare war movies, but I'm going to do it. So,
Oh,
I mean, maybe that's why I don't think that this movie was as celebrated as other movies, because if you're thinking about a movie like Saving Private Ryan, where we don't get a whole lot of backstory on those characters either, but we feel so much more invested in them because we do get little snippets of things like Tom Hanks's character. Oh, well, I'm an English teacher. That's what I do back home. And, so we feel more invested in those characters than we do with any of these characters in Christopher Nolan's film. So I don't know, that did bother me a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, like, don't I mean, and one, I got like choked up in this movie, and I was just telling my
Yeah.
husband as I was walking, and I was like, "Is this a sign of like maturity dash aging? That it like when you start getting emotional in World War II movies, have you like crossed some kind of like line of like middle age?" And like, I kind of laugh because I definitely when those little tugboats and everything pull in and everyone sees this, here I am like getting all like choked up. I was like, but I think that maybe is to me like the emotional draw that you get, that it is a story about regular people too, just like coming together. It's not like they're like a lot of times you see like these heroes doing heroic things, and these are yes these people, but they're also like fishermen and like out on their pleasure boats or whatever. And that to me I think is the draw that makes this like an emotional story and makes it like an nationally iconic story as well, because so many people come together to like make this moment happen, and that the soldiers are feeling like they're going to be like completely like sidelined, and that people are going to be so hateful to them when they get back, and then they realize no, like maybe like not surrendering is better than us all dying, so that's good. Like it's a good thing that we're continuing to go on. And so I think like that is not maybe a like an American story that we like to tell either. Like a lot of our war stories I think are like D-Day or something that's like a little bit more like so it's definitely different. And it's also this isn't an American story at all either.
No,
So
it's not.
Yeah.
It 100% is not. Also, the only fighting that happens
yeah, it's in the plains, right?
yeah, yeah, that's it. Like
Yeah.
the very opening shot, they're running. They are running, and they, can't get their gun to work, and then they just throw their gun down and run. And that's not American, man. That would never happen in an American movie. You don't throw your gun down and run.
When John Wayne's gun didn't work in Red River, he just threw the gun. So
yeah. Or use it to like beat somebody with or whatever, But there wasn't a whole lot of fighting going on here. It was just running and ducking and all of these things.
And not dying. Not drowning or something.
Yeah. So it wasn't like it was very defensive, not an aggression or any kind of
and
movie
I
like
think
that.
this is just people trying to survive, which again though is a really popular theme though in movies and things, just surviving terrible odds. I mean, we do love movies and stories like that as well. Who doesn't love Castaway or any of these other like survival stories? So yeah, maybe it is in a way.
Wondering, because this isn't a movie that's an American. I mean, this is very much an English story, right? But if we're thinking about World War II, so the United States doesn't get involved in World War II until 1942. So we as Americans have a very different conception of World War II because at the beginning of the war, the English were losing. So it's like it's not going to be this victorious. I mean, it is victorious in the sense that yeah, 300,000 men get saved, but it's not going to be this victorious charging and liberating France kind of thing that Americans have in their heads about World War II. So I think that's an important point as well. Like this isn't the victorious time for World War II. This is early on.
Yeah, no, it's very British. We will say that, yes, and it is very not American. So yeah, those are. Yeah.
I just wonder, is this a movie that you're gonna like on a Saturday night? You and your friends are together, like, what are you gonna watch? Like, is this a movie that people are gonna be like, let's watch Dunkirk? Like, I don't
No.
know.
Not me, but
not me
maybe.
either.
Yeah.
Really, no.
But I mean, I guess, are there more movies that people do that with? Is that a thing still?
I mean,
Yeah, I think so. I do.
my husband loves to watch Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill. What is that movie? The Darkest Hour. Loves that one. I mean, I guess I would call that a war movie. I don't know. They do show some fighting. It is set during World War II, so I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, I think that makes it a war movie.
I always say that it should be a companion piece to this movie because that's like the political side, and then you have this, which is yeah.
But I like the ending of this movie too, when they have that Churchill speech kind of going at the end, that iconic Churchill speech that I think is really calling out Americans in a really explicit way, And I think actually it could even be maybe harder on Americans, but it doesn't like, none of the guys are sitting there saying like, damn it, if only the Americans were here, maybe, it's like they're not doing that either, right? So it kind of absolves us in a way that shouldn't. I don't know. And I think like I think it's something at least worth exploring in this, especially with that Churchill speech.
What was that quote that the British had in World War II before US gets involved? It's something like, the British soldiers will fight till the very last American. I think that's it. Something like that. I may be paraphrasing, but
I like it.
Well, I mean, look. I know I'm in a minority in this little trio because I'm an Americanist and not a Europeanist, but as an American,
hey, I majored in U.S. history. I just happened to minor in European history.
I feel compelled to defend America anyhow and say that it wasn't like I don't feel like it's out of the American character to have avoided war for as long as they did.
No. I mean, I get that.
But I mean, again, should that absolve just because like, well, it's our character, I don't know. And I feel like this one doesn't like call out in the same way that maybe some people, I don't know, might have felt at that time.
I think The Darkest Hour did a bit more of that, especially when you see Churchill in the bathroom talking to FDR, being like, what do you mean we have to pull planes across the Canadian border? Like, what does that mean? So yeah, this one was a bit more subtle, perhaps.
Yeah. And I'm gonna stay with my defense of America. I'm gonna say that it wasn't our war until it was. I mean,
yeah,
it was a different kind of international community at that point, and it was Europe's war, and it wasn't ours. And when it became ours, then we stepped in, and I think FDR did a lot to as much as he could without Congress to keep them in it for as long as they did, because I don't think the British, with their iron will and all of that, I don't know if they survive without the stuff that the Americans are providing for them.
Sure.
So
I definitely think probably not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, I just think that the American character at that time was, we're not getting involved in anybody else's problems. We're a big enough country. We have enough of our own problems, especially coming out of the Great Depression. Still trying to get upright on that. You know, have fun over there, you guys. You know, and I think that what Roosevelt recognized was, hey, that Hitler guy's probably not great. We should probably do something about that. And Congress was like, we're fine over here. You know, so I don't know that there was any other, like, I don't think even after a Dunkirk, where the British Army almost got wiped off of the face of the earth, that the United States would have come in had they only salvaged 30,000 or whatever they were expecting to. So, you know, I don't know. That one I have trouble like seeing, like, at what point were we gonna, France surrendered, when, you know, what we weren't involved in any of even the conversations, really, you know.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's also a really British thing to do, to like make it America's problems as well at the same time. So that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised that it's not invoked, at least in the movie, a little bit more in some ways. Like, this would have never happened had America joined or something, you know, like making it America's problem. Because, you know, I've said this before. I mean, British filmmakers do like to point out American problems, I think, in their films more than they like to point out their own. And I always bring up 12 Years a Slave with a British director and British actors on an American subject, when there are plenty of British subjects that could have been focused on. So I think, like, it's not unlike British filmmakers to do something like that, you know?
Yeah. Whereas Americans were like, wait, other people have history?
Yeah. So how do we compare this movie then to our other ones that we have talked about this year in for World War II?
And we talked about, no, I'm just kidding. I think this is like, while I just criticize them for there not being any fighting in it, I think this was one of the fightiest ones. You know, we've had a lot of like resistance. We've had, you know, you know, the Tuskegee Airmen, of course, were fighting, but it's the same amount of fighting that we had in this one. So, but you know, I think it shows more. It's probably one of the most realistic ones, and the graphics were so much better even than Tuskegee Airmen.
Well, I mean, it's so much more recent as well. That's almost an unfair comparison.
Well, yeah, that's why
Airmen
I know
too,
it's like, so much brat.
It was also a made-for-TV movie.
Yes, but I also remember Samantha pointed out that they used the actual 1940 whatever, like
the 1940
visual
soldiers on the ships, right?
No, no, that was different. No, but the visual, the pilot's visual, because they recorded it of the things, and it was like so grainy, and it was like I was like, every time they cut to that, I was like, I don't even know what I'm looking at here, you know?
Yeah.
And while that authenticity was great, I prefer seeing it from the, you know, 2017 4K kind of
Christopher Nolan budget. Yes.
Yeah, I think it cost $100 million to make this movie, and it grossed like 500 million, something like that. Okay. Yeah, so yeah. But yeah, I'd say it was probably, you know, obviously it's newer, the graphics are better, the fighting scenes are better, the airline, you know, the dog fighting in the air was good. I mean, I'm probably like really clouded because the last one we talked about was Charlotte Gray, and that was just I think
missed that
Samantha
one.
described it as a romance.
Not a
romance.
war movie.
Yeah, masquerading as a war movie. It just so happened to take place during a war, but it was mainly the romance. You know, the Tuskegee one, that was great. But
And their
this
Call
is-
to Spy was excellent.
yeah, it was.
I liked that movie a lot.
But it was still more espionage and not like
It wasn't
actual
combat.
battles.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're doing a few like sabotage things, but there
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of combat like you think
Yeah.
about. So I saw that this is also Christopher Nolan's first movie based on historical events, which I thought like was kind of fascinating because I don't know, I feel like that's kind of he does that, and I was wondering because as you said,
that's kind of what he does now, huh?
Yeah, and I think maybe we're not like that wasn't even a thing this last summer that you might make a movie, right? That's based on historical events. So it's interesting though that he got green lights maybe to do it when this one didn't do so well financially. I mean, one could say this is a flop, right?
It didn't do so well financially, maybe, but it
critically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And its opening million was 50. Its opening weekend was 50 million. So I mean, that's not terrible.
Yeah, but that's pre-COVID.
It's not.
So I don't know that we would call that a rousing success.
But it was. I mean, neither was Oppenheimer.
But no one would ever say it wasn't a success because I guess because of all the critical acclaim and because of.
And this one got that critical acclaim. It was nominated for 8. He was nominated for Best Director. It was nominated for Best Picture. So they didn't win those, and Oppenheimer did, but it was.
Were they doing the 10 Best Picture nominees at that point, 2017?
I think
I can't remember when they switched over.
I think so too.
The only reason I mention that is because sometimes some of those movies like would never ever have a chance of winning, but you have to have 10. So there you go.
Yeah, but I don't think this was. I don't like. I'm gonna have to look up.
What are the other movies in 2017? I would be interested to see what their what Dunkirk stacks up, like how that. Sorry.
Moonlight won that year. Karen, do you want to know a confession?
Oh no.
Okay.
I still have your DVD of Moonlight that you gave me before COVID.
Yeah, do you want to hear a confession? You can keep it. I never want to see it again.
You told me that then.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't think it's a movie that you watch over and over. I don't, you know.
La La Land and
okay.
Well, the 2018 Oscars,
remembering this
it was The Shape of Water, Call Me by Your Name.
Oh, okay.
The Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread. See, I think Phantom Thread's one of those that would have never.
Oh, I hated that movie.
The Post.
Hated that movie.
And 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Okay. All right.
I don't think any, well, except for maybe Phantom Thread, I don't think any of those were a stretch as far as critical acclaim.
The Shape of Water won Best Picture, did it not? If I'm remembering correctly, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of interesting. And it's interesting that Dunkirk was in the same category as The Darkest Hour, because I remember that not being very critically acclaimed. Like they took that movie to task. Not Gary Oldman's acting, obviously he won the Oscar, but
right.
Yeah, and that helps it certainly. Directing, it was Guillermo del Toro won, but Christopher Nolan was nominated. Jordan Peele was nominated. Greta Gerwig and Paul Thomas Anderson. So.
Okay. Interesting.
That is interesting. All right, so you did look up why Christopher Nolan was inspired by this movie. So I wanted to know, and it's because him and his wife, 20 years before he made this movie, got in a small boat and sailed across the English Channel, and it took them 19 hours.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
they then, hampered by rough seas and bad weather, the voyage took unexpectedly 19 hours. The experience would give Nolan a whole new appreciation for the seminal event he had only read about in books.
Okay.
So that planted the seed, and they started reading these firsthand accounts of people who had been there, and that's when they started thinking about these stories that shaped that event then. So there you
Interesting.
go.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound as fun. The only one you've
I
heard of is Shape
know,
of Water,
right?
Brenna. Come on, come on. That's probably the only one I haven't seen. Is
That
Shape
you
of
I
Water.
haven't
didn't see Shape of the
seen?
Water.
Oh my
Well, you know,
gosh.
Call Me by Your Name, that's before Army Hammer got canceled.
Yeah. And probably a good thing he got canceled.
I think that if one of the reasons that you are canceled is because of cannibalism rumors, I think that you should
That's
be
probably a
canceled.
good reason.
It happens, yes.
That's kind of extreme.
You know, this is speaking of the only one from the list I recognize. If you want to talk about feeling, well, this week I was lecturing, I was in person lecturing, and I said something about like, oh, it's like Magic Eye. And my whole class was like, what is Magic Eye? And I was like, those posters at the mall.
Did you
None
say
of
you were in
them.
prison?
No, I was lecturing in person. I was not in prison,
I was
in
like,
person.
okay, you said in prison, and I was like,
No. In person, but none
of
of my
knew
students
that
knew what Magic Eye was, and I looked it up
Yeah.
and showed them on the screen, and they're like, "Oh, you mean like a kaleidoscope?" And I was like, "No, it's like a poster." And I looked, and it came out in 1991.
No.
That's when I realized. Well, there you have
well
it.
before most of these folks were born. Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome to old age, Haley.
In case, like, don't feel bad for not watching these movies. It's been a few years now.
No, but heard of them. Yeah. Look, I like it, and like I said, if if the way that we are going to recommend this is like it's accurate, it's pretty like I said, intense. It gives you that feeling of unknowing. And yeah, I did get choked up too whenever he gets the binoculars and sees all those ships. It's like
They're all cheering and everything. I was like, this is great. But like, I think if someone's like, when was the last time you got choked up in a movie? You're like, well, I was watching Dunkirk. What? And the boats all come and the people start cheering, and I just got a little like teary eyed. I didn't like cry, but I definitely like got a little choked up. And that's when I thought, well, yeah, I've definitely crossed into some really dark place now.
Aw.
My
Maybe
dad used to cry in World War II movies. Oh my goodness. In Saving Private Ryan, when Tom Hanks was like, earn this, my dad would lose it. So
I weep at Saving Private Ryan.
there are some that if you don't cry, I don't know if you're alive. I legitimately like.
I don't know that
I think that's going to be like an icebreaker question I start asking people. What was the last time you got choked up in a movie, and what was it and why?
I obviously didn't get choked up with this one, but I think the last movie I cried was when I rewatched Schindler's List. So yeah.
Well, I mean, again, that's
tough.
one.
That was a tough one in this semester, this year long journey that we've been on.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, like I watch Band of Brothers, just for funsies a lot, and that one gets me too because
I've never seen that.
Up, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. The first 15 minutes of that will bring you down to your knees, yeah, sobbing like a child.
Never seen that series. I don't.
You haven't seen Band of Brothers, really?
No, but I don't think so. When it came out, I don't think I had HBO. I think it was on HBO, right? I didn't have HBO, and so I just never caught it, and then I've never watched it.
I finally did during COVID. I had it before.
Okay.
Well, you need to watch it, Sarah.
Okay,
It's
I don't suppose you have the DVD of that.
I do in my office, in fact, yes.
Oh, perfect. I'll just
I
borrow
do as
it.
well. I inherited it from my dad. Him
But
and
it's
his
on
best friend
Netflix.
bought it together because it was really expensive and they used to
Aw.
share it. But when my dad passed, his best friend said I could keep it. I was like, thank you. So I as well have the DVDs and I would be happy to share it. My dad would love to share Band of Brothers
Aw.
with others.
But I'm telling you, not only is it on Max, it is currently on Netflix.
Okay. Well, I have a Netflix account, so
No
I'll just catch it there.
excuses.
Perfect.
As is the Pacific, which is the Pacific version of that, which is
And now
really,
Masters of Air.
well, that's on Apple though. So
But I'm saying it's like
Yeah.
we're in our like next stage of whatever.
and I've heard they're gonna do another one.
Another
Yeah.
season of Masters of Air?
Oh, I don't know if it's another season.
Oh,
of
another,
Masters of Air,
like,
but like another
Oh,
from
Yeah.
another point of view, which
Huh.
you know,
Gotcha.
which maybe
Really
they should. Maybe they should give the
Interesting.
Navy a little love.
I mean,
I
what
don't
did the
know.
Navy ever do? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Please, please do not come after me. Navy did a lot during World War II.
So Karen, tell us about our next movie.
Oh,
Our
yes.
next movie is
I'm excited about the next one.
what why can't I remember the
Karen
name of
is
it?
too. She just doesn't remember.
It's got Andrew Garfield. Heartbreak Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Ridge. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Heartbreak Ridge is another one that's like that's like Vietnam, I think.
Oh, okay. No, this is Hacksaw Ridge. And
Speaking
I'm real
of-
excited about this because there was connections in my own life to this story. So brace
Ooh.
yourself, everyone. Come
Nice.
next time and find out. Not really
Oh, boy.
tangential.
Oh boy. Okay.
Well,
so in 2
I'll
weeks, it's
spoiler. The guy is a Seventh-day Adventist, and I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, and he was very, very popular, and he would go
Oh,
around
cool.
and get like talk all the time everywhere. So
Okay.
it my like again my dad and all the people in Keene used to come and talk a lot and do the like give his like story. So I grew up like knowing about it. So when the movie came out, it was very big for all of us. Yeah.
I
As
also
somebody
want
who had
to,
like 2 famous Adventists, David Koresh and this guy, we were really happy there was a movie about this guy. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Overshadows
Yeah.
David Koresh, thankfully.
in a good way. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
well, I put the flyer up, and I also put the flyer for our next event, which is on Thursday, where we're going to have a roundtable discussion of no, a panel discussion. Sorry, it's not going to be a roundtable. I'm sorry. That would be
It'll be a
big
square
mistake.
table,
Yeah,
not a
it'll
round
be
table. A square table
long,
discussion.
a long table that a panel will
Yes.
speak on. That about the Columbine shooting, because it has been 25 years since the Columbine shooting. So hard to believe that it's been that long, but also hard to believe that it's only been 25 years.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a discussion about that, and that is on Thursday at Northeast Campus at Center Corner, starting at 12:30. We will record it, and we'll get that recording to Chloe so that she can put it on her site. Which, speaking of her site, let me get that up here.
Yes. Can't wait
to
for you to come and visit.
Yeah,
See all of
I'm
our
posting a link to Chloe's history event site, where she has all of the things that we're doing.
And we have more
and-
things to add.
and have done. So that is what we're doing. Over the summer, if you're taking summer classes, we're going to do Saving Private Ryan, and we're going to do that on actual D-Day. Won't that be fun? And And then we're going to do Casablanca because why not? It's fun.
I'm like very excited for that one.
World War II movie.
I won't be there on D-Day, Karen. I'm sorry.
You won't be there on D-Day? Are you going to be in France? Are you invading France?
I'm invading France. Yes. I'm recreating my own D-Day. Except, you know, nicer. Because nicer than the Germans were.
Well, that's good. I mean, honestly, it can't be a lot worse than they were. So that's going nicer would be good.
A low bar to me, right?
So in 2 weeks we have Hacksaw Ridge. I don't know why I couldn't think of the name Hacksaw, but yes, that will be quite fun. And then we'll wrap up 2 weeks after that with Unbroken. So we're approaching the end.
Yes, and we have a couple of events too. On June 14, we are going to be doing a webinar with the National Juneteenth Museum, and that'll be online. It is not going to be on Juneteenth because we could only get them on that Friday, but that'll be wonderful. And July 3, we are doing a webinar about the 250th anniversary of 1774 and its implications for our 4th of July. How fun!
That's crazy.
I
That's
know.
crazy.
It will be
250 years, man.
Yeah. And so we're going to try to set this up kind of as a series, you know, about like, at least in the summer, thinking about what these, like what the year 70, 70, and we're probably going to keep doing it like for a while.
Mm-hmm.
For the foreseeable future, in the summer, we'll be talking about like 1 year out of the Revolutionary War era and going through and kind of just focusing on that year specifically. And so I think it'll be a fun kind of lens in which to celebrate and think about for the 4th of July.
Oh, yeah. Fun.
Yeah. That'll be good. So we're starting with 1774 this summer. Yay.
Yay. 1774. Yeah. Well, all right. So, all right. So you've heard us. Does anybody have anything that you'd like to add to this discussion? Anything that did you think Harry Styles did a good job? Do you think that
it was very angsty?
Yeah, he was. I will say that I would like to know more about Shivering Man. What happened to him after all of this? Because he was shell shocked. He did not. I mean, he wasn't okay. And then he killed George. I mean, accidentally.
He murdered George. Yeah.
Accidentally, certainly, but still, he killed George.
Yeah.
So that's
that's manslaughter. So yeah.
But they didn't rat him out. I mean, they like, made it sound like George died heroically and, all of that. So.
they were all shivering to some extent, right?
Yeah, to some extent. Yeah, certainly. But yeah, I would have liked to have known that. Not that it was ever going to have like a even a scroll of this guy did this and this guy did this, and I don't know if any of these people were actually real or based on real people or anything like that. I think it was entirely fictionalized, but yeah, that is what happens when you don't establish your characters well. And when they have names like Shivering Man. I mean, that is at once descriptive, but also not that descriptive when pretty much everybody is shivering. So I maybe it seems like, especially military type movies too, there's a perfect opportunity to have their names on their uniform. Now, does Britain not do that? Is that what I'm looking at? But then I know they do now, right? But maybe they didn't do that back then. But it is, a perfect opportunity to just put their last name at least, and we could have known that. But Shivering Man.
Shivering Man is all we get. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I hope he was okay. I hope he got the help he needed.
Yeah.
Probably not, but okay.
Unlikely. Yeah, it is
I mean,
unlikely.
we weren't like super
Keeping the time
awesome with mental health issues
We're
back.
still not super awesome with mental health issues,
No,
unfortunately.
we're not. But although we identify it better, we don't really do anything.
Yeah.
Like, you have PTSD. See ya. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So probably not. But you know, I'm glad that they didn't like turn him into the police and have him arrested and all of that kind of thing. So that's good. And all right, Lethan. Thanks for coming by, and yeah, do watch the movie. I'm sorry we ruined it for you, although as we discussed earlier, it is, you know, you kind of sort of know how it ends anyhow.
Yeah.
Maybe not the specific people, but that's, you know, that's all right. I will always contend I enjoy a movie more if I know what's going to happen at the end.
That's
I've
the
always
historian in me. Yes.
always been that way. I've always felt that way. I go to themoviespoilers.com if I don't know, so that I can be like, what's happening?
I can't help it. I do that as well. Even in books I read, I sometimes will have to go and read all of it before, because if not, I'm just too anxious the whole time.
Yeah.
And it helps. It just gives me kind of like a soothing feeling knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And again, is that like, is that the historians in us here?
Probably, yeah.
Thanks to neurodivergence in us.
Maybe you never know. Who can say?
Probably.
Who can say?
Yeah, half dozen six. It's the same thing, really.
Right.
That's
I'm going
why
to stop
we're
the recording, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Yep. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Aw.